With this year's appropriately named Halloween Ends, director David Gordon Green's revival of the Halloween franchise, which began with 2018's Halloween before tripping up with 2021's Halloween Kills, comes to an end. The movie serves as the final chapter for both Green's trilogy and original Halloween star Jamie Lee Curtis's involvement with the franchise. Now, many are claiming that this final film is the heaviest of them all, but why? Well, stay tuned to find out. First up, here's a rundown of the plot. So, warning, major spoilers ahead. The film begins following Corey Cunningham, who is watching a spoiled young child named Jeremy on Halloween night in 2019. Jeremy decides to play a joke on Corey by locking him in the attic. Corey mistakenly knocks open the door just as Jeremy's parents arrive home, killing the young boy by throwing him over the staircase railing. Corey is accused of murdering Jeremy on purpose, but is exonerated of manslaughter. Meanwhile, even though Michael Myers has disappeared, the effects of his most recent killing spree in 2018 are still being felt in the Illinois community of Haddonfield. In addition to moving into a new home and residing with her granddaughter Allison, Laurie Strode is currently writing a memoir. Corey is currently employed at his stepfather's salvage yard. One day, he gets taunted by high school bullies on his walk home and is hurt as a result. He is brought to the medical practice where Allison works by Laurie, who is observing. After getting close to each other and going to a Halloween party, Corey is challenged by Jeremy's mother. When Corey exits the party, he runs into some high school students, who subsequently hurl him down a bridge. He wakes up after being dragged into the sewers by an unidentified individual and is met by Michael, who has been residing there for the previous 4 years. Michael senses the same darkness in Corey that he did in himself, and after holding him by the throat, lets him go. Corey encounters a homeless man brandishing a knife as he leaves. Corey stabs the man to death during the scuffle and then runs away. At their dinner date, Corey and Allison are harassed by Allison's ex, police officer Doug Mullaney. As a result, Corey subsequently lures the officer into the sewer, where he implores Michael to kill the man in order to resurrect his killer instinct. Allison learns that a nurse having an affair with the doctor was given a promotion instead of her when she was up for one. The doctor and nurse are killed in the doctor's home by Corey and Michael working together. Due to the prior trauma, Allison and Corey intend to leave Haddonfield, and Laurie is increasingly wary of Corey as he starts acting like Michael. She prohibits him from leaving with Allison, but in response, Corey accuses her of causing the situation in Haddonfield, and then professes that if he can't have her, then nobody else can. On October 31st, Corey makes a triumphant return to the sewers and challenges Michael for his mask. Meanwhile, Allison is preparing to leave while Laurie and Allison dispute, and Allison holds Laurie responsible for Michael's behavior. That evening, Corey goes on a killing spree, killing the high school students at the salvage yard. One of the bullies accidentally shoots Corey's stepfather while firing a gun at him during the confusion. He then murders his mother, the radio station's DJ, and the front desk employee. Laurie pretends to commit suicide at the Strode residence in order to entice Corey to her, who she then shoots down the stairs. Then, in front of Allison, who has just arrived, Corey stabs himself in the neck to blame Laurie for his passing. After Corey is killed by Michael when he shows up out of nowhere to get his mask, Laurie is eventually able to pin Michael to the table. She takes off his mask and slices his throat, but before Allison can arrive and break his arm, he manages to free one arm and choke her. Laurie slashes his wrist to kill him at last, and exact revenge for Karen's passing. When Michael succumbed to his injuries, Laurie took his body to the salvage yard, where she attracted the Haddonfield citizens who followed her in a parade and disposed of it in a commercial shredder. Following Michael's death, the film comes to a close and Allison and Laurie make up. We then see Laurie complete her memoir and also rediscovers her romance with Deputy Hawkins. Meanwhile, Allison departs from Haddonfield for good. Now, Halloween Ends is one of the most brutal and heavy films of the entire Halloween franchise. How so? Well, let's take a look. Throughout the film, we witness Corey running into high schoolers, adults, and even Jeremy's mother, who all refuse to let him go for the accident that happened to Jeremy. Now, it would be one thing if Corey were a complete complete jerk, but instead, he is a depressed bookworm who has given up on his plans to major in engineering in college and has instead turned to working at the junkyard his family owns. Furthermore, to add to his tough life, Joanne Barron, his mother, abuses him at home, and Rick Moose, his father, does all he can to help, but more importantly, exhibits complete apathy to everything around him. Basically, he's a figure who has given up on life and spends as much time as possible at the junkyard, avoiding returning home. Corey's parts lack the typical wit that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride have added to this franchise. You would initially believe that his eventual romantic relationship with Laurie's granddaughter, Allison, would give the movie a more upbeat tone, but instead, soon after, Corey begins to embrace his dark side, and you begin to believe that no one in Haddonfield will ever be able to get past their most difficult challenges. The directors give the most depressing lead that any Halloween movie has ever had by casting Corey as a down-on-his-luck protagonist turned villain. Like many slasher movies, most of the ends easier-to-watch sequences occur in the first few minutes as the audience gets acquainted with or catches up with the characters. As the movie opens, Laurie is working on a memoir, making pies, and having fun with Allison. Most of the time, life seems simpler than it has been in a long time. When Laurie is accused of inciting Michael to commit his most recent killings as they leave a grocery shop, her trauma recovery reaches a breaking point. This is carried out in front of Laurie's former neighbor, Diva Taylor, who was stabbed in the throat in Halloween Kills and is now mute. It is violent in a way that previous Halloween movies have not attempted. In addition to the woman's current situation and the passing of her husband, Laurie is made to feel terrible for not being able to identify her former neighbor. It's amazing to see such an emotionally charged scene handled so masterfully after 43 years in a generally flimsy series of films. This is the same film series where Michael Myers shoots someone in the body and nails them to a wall. The parking lot sequence in Halloween Ends works better than any of the ham-fisted, serious moments in the most recent trilogy, not because it's some sort of dramatic storytelling gem. Finally, what was the overall reception for the film? Were people impressed or let down? Where Green's first Halloween did a fantastic job of channeling the eerie unease of John Carpenter's first slasher movie, relying more on the ambiance and a sense of tension, its sequel is the complete opposite, delivering outrageous kill after outrageous kill that grew more and more ridiculous as the movie went on. Although it could appear to be an improvement, the movie instead comes off as frustratingly unsure of itself, as it makes a failed attempt to combine these two subgenres. Halloween Ends also lacks the subtle way of building tension that the 2018 film so perfectly mastered. However, it's not all bad. Halloween Ends retains some of its praise thanks to some excellent performances by Curtis and Campbell. Curtis continues to show us in her public farewell to the part why Laurie Strode is still one of the best last girl characters of all time. In Halloween Ends, she manages to strike a much more subtle balance between her previous brilliantly difficult performance in the part from Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, which feels like the glue holding the rest of the movie together. If this is actually the last Hollywood movie she will be in, any follow-ups will be even more interesting because she steals every scene she appears in, even the ones she shares with Michael Myers. Without a doubt, further films within the franchise will struggle to fill her shoes. Campbell also provides a strong performance as Corey, the victim of Haddonfield's fury who struggles with the dark path they have been led down, and who, despite their best efforts, just can't seem to turn away from. Campbell's portrayal of Corey successfully evokes the empathy the movie wants you to feel for him. His performance makes the turnaround in his character's development feel deserved and justified by everything we've seen up to that point. Finally, this new movie keeps things straightforward, in contrast to Green's earlier Halloween movies, which attempt to create drama with overly scripted monologues and concepts that don't quite work. Overall, it's a good watch, but keep in mind that it is just so different from the typical films we're used to from the Halloween franchise. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the film Halloween Ends, and why it felt like the heaviest and most brutal of them all. Now make sure to let us know your thoughts down below, and as always, thanks for watching.